So there seems to be a belief among some Christians that says that you can be excused for being a jerk as long as you're proclaiming the truth. There's even a derisive phrase that some people use against Christians who think that we should be more gentle in how we voice our concerns or our beliefs. They call them the Church of Nice. Now, there's a legitimate criticism there if we're talking about people who pander to popular sensibilities or who lack integrity when they are confronted with beliefs that oppose Christian doctrine. But that's not being nice. That's just being craven. So I don't think we should inadvertently ridicule kindness in place of cowardice. C.S. Lewis called that Christianity and water, which I think is a much more appropriate critical label. But if you're using phrases like that to mock Christians who insist on speaking truth in charity, then I think we need to revisit some of the fundamentals of our faith. In 1 Corinthians, St. Paul reminds us that even if we possess prophetic knowledge but don't have love, then we are nothing. And then he goes on to tell us what the qualities of love are: patience, kindness, not boastful, self-serving, or jealous. So if communicating truth is important to us, then we should ask ourselves why. Is it simply to show off and inform people how wise we are? Well, we already know what the Bible says about pride and boastfulness. Instead, we should be motivated by a desire to help people encounter truth and adopt it. After all, God is truth. So the more we can help people encounter truth, the more we're introducing them to God, which is what Christians are called to do. But does that give us license to speak the truth under any circumstances? Or are we called to show restraint sometimes? Well, if our motives are to help people come to a better understanding of it, I'd say that truth needs to be revealed gently and appropriately. So here's a perfect example. Imagine your aunt has been gaining weight and you're a little concerned for her health. Do you think it would be wise to say, "Hey, Auntie, you're looking a little fat these days. Maybe you should lay off that second serving of pie"? If your goal is to help her accept something that is true so that it can help her, then that is the absolute worst way to go about doing it, even if everything in that statement is true. In fact, that kind of presentation of the truth will probably have the opposite effect. So when we hide behind truth in order to excuse behavior that could be considered boastful, mean-spirited, or judgmental, I don't think God's looking down at us saying, "Good job, guys." If anything, his example should help us to understand this principle. After all, God has always revealed himself to humanity slowly and gently. This is true for us in our personal experiences, but also in the broader context of salvation history. Starting with the patriarchs of Israel, God revealed himself in small doses, and it took thousands of years before the chosen people were ready for the full revelation of Jesus. In fact, there's even some evidence in the Bible that encountering God in doses that we aren't prepared for is actually dangerous. Like in Exodus, Moses asks to see God in all his glory, and God says that nobody can see his face and live. So he prepares this whole scenario where Moses has to go hide behind a rock, and he's going to shield him with his hand while his glory passes by. Any growth in knowledge depends on gradual revelation. You can't start doing calculus until you've learned the basics of arithmetic and progress along the way until you're ready for the hard stuff. Truth must be introduced in portions that a person can digest. So if you're a Christian who wants to introduce people to truths that have helped you in your life, then the way you communicate that truth to your audience should reflect that motive. Simply clobbering people with truth with no regard for their ability to receive it is reckless and arguably incompatible with Christianity. Thanks for watching. We're making videos like this on topics that I find interesting, and hopefully you do too, on a weekly basis. So if you do, then please like and share and follow and subscribe and all that good stuff. And if you do, I promise not to take that for granted.